Hello, and welcome to episode 11 of the Nobody Important podcast. I am Ramon.
And I am Felipe.
And this week has been a hell of a week. Even if you're hiding under a rock, you know that this week has basically been the start of hell on Earth, at least within the U.S. It has been a mess. Before we diverge and go too far into that, you can already tell where this podcast is going today. The start of the episode, we do still want to go over our drinks, and I'll be honest, I was running a little bit late, and so I didn't have enough time to really make a drink. So I kind of cheated, and I poured myself just a simple pour of Knob Creek Rye. And
ooh, that's new.
I bought it like couple months ago and I never opened it. I was just like, oh, you know what? It's a bottle of rye, costs like $30-$40. I'm going to give it a shot. And I actually haven't even taken a drink yet. It smells super smooth, so I'm actually just about to take a drink while you talk about yours.
Inspiration from you last week when you said that you were getting into making limeades. Again, we were kind of running out of time because we wanted to record this pretty soon because I have things to do later, which we'll discuss. I made myself a limeade, and then when you mentioned that you were just going to drink rum, I'm like, okay, it has to be alcoholic now, so I just poured rum into it, which, you know, rum and... It's pretty much a daiquiri when I'm drinking, just a watered-down daiquiri. I just had that realization.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. Side note, this shit's smooth. Like, it's actually really, really, really nice. It has nice flavor to it. It's nice and smooth. It's a very, very easy drink because I'm actually just drinking it neat. And so, yeah, I approve. Not bad for, $30-$40.
I am curious what the alcohol content
100
that
proof.
is. Oh, yep, that's definitely a rye then. Ryes tend to go up higher.
Yeah. So
very nice.
It's 100 proof. It's solid. It's dangerous. I can already tell it's dangerous because like I just took a couple little sips right now and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is really good. I can get into some trouble with this one. But for your limeade, I do have to ask, how did you make it?
1.5 limes. I poured a bunch of simple syrup in it. I didn't even measure it, and then ice and water. And then because the sun's gonna kill the mint, I'm trying to use as much mint as possible. I threw some mint in here.
Hell yeah. That's actually what I've been doing too. anytime my wife wants a limeade, I just throw in mint for garnish. And anytime I forget, she's like, "Where's my mint?" I'm like, "Okay, yeah, valid. I will. I'll make sure to include the mint for you every time." So
yeah,
it's
for solid. Anyone who's never had mint in their lemonade or limeade, it's a game changer. That flavor it makes it more refreshing.
It really does. It definitely does. And I mean, granted, you have to like mint. And I know there's that weird subset of people that don't like mint. And for you people, like, you're just fucking weird. But mint as a whole is fantastic. And it's a great compliment to really any drink. And so, yeah, you should drink it. But I don't want to spend too much time on our drinks this week because holy shit. This week has been... one just, I don't even know the right word for it. One just event that in isolation, you would think, holy shit, this has been like a fucked up week. If it was the only thing that happened in the week.
Yeah.
But we've had several all in the span of 1 week. And I'll start off with... I've been trying to avoid politicizing anything on this podcast, also trying to avoid politicizing anything on, my own personal life, my own branding for my business. At this point, there's no avoiding it. Like you have to say something, you have to speak up. And if you're not, your silence is politicizing the wrong things. And so this is going to be a little bit of a rant. I apologize for taking up too much time at the very beginning now, but starting with just the very, very beginning of this week in Minneapolis, and oh man, like it's it's hard for me to really say it. It's hard for me to really watch it because like I watched that video more times than I care to admit, but the cop, the terrible, terrible excuse for a cop in Minneapolis murdering George Floyd. There's no discussion in that. That's what happened. And everything that's happened as a result of that has just been a nightmare. It has been an absolute mess. And it has just created a crazy, crazy amount of just events beyond kind of like what our norm has been. I know for you, Felipe, you've felt this actually really hard just at work. And so, you know, I'll let you go a little bit into it, and then I'm going to go back into mine. But yeah, it has been a crazy, crazy week, all starting with that murder.
Yeah, I think we should talk about the video a bit. I haven't seen the whole thing. I've just seen the little bits and pieces. But my understanding is it's about 9 minutes where for 8.5 of those minutes, this officer had his knee on the back of the head of George Floyd, even after he was already detained. I've read that the footage before he was detained, he was not resisting, and even after he was motionless, he stayed on the back of his neck for 4 more minutes.
6 more minutes.
6 more minutes. Thank you for correcting me. How the fuck does that happen? I've seen police officers give their opinion on it, saying, "Hey, that's not part of our training. We are not trained to detain someone by putting, your knee on the back of their head."
I'm gonna call bullshit on that statement, but we'll keep going.
We see this event pretty much shaking up the whole nation, because after that, like the next day, I think we woke up, checked Twitter or Reddit, and I saw that flyer of all the history, alleged history, right? There's no way to confirm that random flyer, for us anyways.
Yeah.
Of all the things where this guy, this former officer, had a history. And not just in Minneapolis, and like everywhere he worked as an officer, I think from Alaska and everything in between, he had at least one incident every single time he was a new department.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like his supervisors didn't know that this could happen. I mean, well, you can't really predict this shit, but hey, if there are signs of it, his history was a sign.
Yeah. And I think, part of your thing not watching the full video, kind of to give it some context, George Floyd was detained for allegedly writing a bad check.
Oh, no. It was a fake $20 bill.
Oh, it was
that
okay. It was fake.
That he may not have known it was fake.
Gotcha. Okay. The original story I'd heard was allegedly a bad check, but okay, fake $20 bill. So stopped for that. Pulled out of his car, whatever may have happened, detained, yelling for a couple minutes, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe." And at about 3 minutes into that video, I don't remember the exact words, but said something along the lines of like, "Tell my mom I love her," because he knew what was happening to him. And he knew that he wasn't going to come out of this.
I'm pretty sure he was calling for his mom, and I think his mom is dead.
Yeah, something like that. And so I know it was the mom. Again, you can tell I'm kind of a little frazzled this week because it has just been an absolute mess. And so after all of that happens, the officer still stays on him for another 5 minutes, 6 minutes. I haven't looked up the official coroner report for, cause of death, anything like that, but at least the posts online that I have seen talk about it are not good. they're trying to basically sugarcoat the fact that he was suffocated and trying to blame it on underlying health issues and not like the actual cause of death. They won't come out and actually say it. Again, I'm going based off of stories that I see online. I haven't actually looked up the report, but if that is the case, that makes it even worse.
I think typically coroner's reports take a few weeks.
Yeah.
Even on items that like are this pressing, they take a few weeks. So we may not know for a bit what the official cause of death is.
I'm going to totally digress on this because it's just something that I saw last night, and like the image is burning in my head right now, and it's totally unrelated to this, but I finally saw the image of the coroner's report from Kobe's death.
Oh, damn. See? Well, and that happened in January?
That, dude, holy shit. Not something I'm going to talk about on the podcast because it is hands down one of the most gruesome things I have ever seen. But, yeah, I just saw that last night. Yeah, I'll talk to you about that more later. As far as once all this happened, once everything happened in Minneapolis, the city, the state just lost it. Like, they absolutely went nuts. They started, with protests. And those protests then devolved into riots and looting. I don't care what the scenario is. I can never condone rioting and looting for really any cause. I can understand the frustrations and the anger that caused it, but just from a personal perspective, like it's one of those things where like I can't condone rioting where you are destroying the community that you are a part of. Like, you should be building up your community to make your community stronger, not destroy your community. And that's been what's happening. It is a result of years upon decades upon centuries of frustrations that are totally warranted frustrations, totally justified frustrations, and anger due to the unequal treatment that has happened among different communities within this country. And it's just been a mess this week because those protests and those things there then led to protests all around the country, led to riots all around the country. I even saw there was one, it was either yesterday or the night before, during riots in Dallas, that they killed a local business owner for trying to protect his business from being destroyed during a riot. Like, that's someone local that's a part of your community, and you all teamed up to kill this guy. Like, that, there's no reason for that. Support him and help him protect his business. Don't kill the guy for no reason.
Well, even here, like, we had two parts of the city that had protests, right? Downtown had a peaceful one, and then it turned into, after a while, you could see that it wasn't going to go anywhere. Like, the crowd started getting smaller. And then you had what happened in Scottsdale, which was just straight up rioting and looting.
That was just looting. It wasn't even rioting. It was just looting.
Like, when I saw them break the door of the PF Chang's, I'm like, why? Why? What do you have to gain from doing that? There is nothing in the PF Chang's you can take that is worth anything. It's a fucking restaurant.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Take the kitchen utensils? Like, I mean, you're going to take, like...
Fucking morons.
You're going to take a bunch of giant fucking walks with you? Like, what are you going to do? But there's that. And in that immediate area around Scottsdale, there's a lot of stuff. A lot of businesses they destroyed. A lot of businesses they absolutely trashed. They trashed the Mercedes dealer that's across the street from the Scottsdale Fashion Square Mall. Like, again, why? It's needless, senseless loot. What are you going to do? Drive away with the car that's at the Mercedes dealer? No, that's not going to fucking happen. You're literally going there just to destroy shit. And...
I mean, they broke down the Crate and Barrel's glass doors. Like, I remember when I was at that mall with you, we were walking around that spiral staircase.
Yeah.
all that glass around that spiral staircase is gone.
Yep.
They broke the doors of a bougie furniture store that I can't even remember the name of, and I saw the people coming out and they're just taking lamps. I'm like, it's a fucking lamp.
Yeah.
Why?
They're looting that. They're doing all that. They, it was Neiman Marcus. Like they destroyed a lot in that mall. And, full disclosure, actually, I worked in that mall for ballpark around 4 years, actually, doing just management of various stores within there. And so I have a lot of friends and a lot of, people that I still talk to on a regular basis that I have done business with that are in that mall still and still have ties to that mall. And so seeing all of these, stories, seeing all of these pictures, these videos of people going in and like looting and trashing all these stores, I know the faces of the people that then have to go in and clean that. Like I know who they are. And so I'm like reaching out to all of these people, like see how they're doing, if they'd heard anything. Ironically enough, the company that I most recently worked for in that location didn't get touched, like at all. It was left alone. Yeah,
because even that Starbucks was like 10 feet away from that store, and that got trashed.
Yeah. They trashed with
Wow.
Starbucks. I'm good friends with the manager of Starbucks. She sent me the pictures, and it, it's trashed. But yeah, it was crazy that to see all of this happen, and then like again, knowing the people that are directly there involved, like I feel for them. I want to go help them, even though it's something I've been away from for quite a while. And so it's like I feel terrible that it's happening, and then it, when something like that really hits home and you see the people that are involved, you see the people that are there, being a part of that, it's like, damn, it really does change the impact of it. It does change the severity of exactly what it is that you're seeing.
Yeah, like we're touching back on that poor business owner that was murdered. It touched my mind and my heart because my parents own a small business. And it's the same type of people, man. It's someone defending their private business. They probably worked their ass off to help build and, be part of the American dream. Because that guy was brown.
Yeah.
Can't see his face, which is probably a good thing because, man, that was brutality at its finest.
Yeah. Well, even like my wife's family.
That too.
My wife's family own a bar not too far from where the protests were in the downtown area, and like they've had that bar in the family for at this point I don't even know 25 30 years, something like that, where they've just been that's their income, that's what they do. And so you see all these small businesses, all these people that are struggling because of all the shutdowns that are currently going on in a lot of places still. And then to have something like this on top of that, which is just going to really hurt them even more, like it's just so senseless.
Yeah. And this is a weird one because I don't think we've had to deal with a black man who was killed where someone actually knew him and the person who knew him actually happens to be known in the world. Turns out that Steven Jackson, a former NBA player who played at more than 10 years, right?
I think probably closer to 15, I think. I mean, he played for several teams. Legendary player. Like, guy's fantastic.
Yeah, he was part of that Golden Warriors team that beat the Dallas Mavericks in 08.
Yep. He fantastic player. He's got his own podcast with Matt Barnes called All the Smoke. Like, funny as hell podcast. But
he knew George Floyd. When we saw that video, or I think Mick sent me the video, and then I sent it to the podcast chat where we had him talking. I was like, "This is what I wake up to. This is my brother is dead," and until you know the full story, where he's like, "Yo, he grew up with this guy." People thought they looked so much alike. They literally called them twins. And if you do see the pictures, yeah, they do very, very similar. There's pictures of him that look a few weeks old. So he legit knew this man, and he looks like he's really heartbroken because his brother is dead to him.
Yeah.
I saw him like speak later. I think at either at his eulogy or just out in the world of like this is getting his personal feelings out about the matter.
Yeah, and I mean, it was one of the other crazy things that I saw was there was the parents, I believe it was the mom of George Floyd, was interviewed, and the quote that stood out in my mind where she was just like, please let there be justice. I don't want my son's face to be on a t-shirt. Damn. Like, and that's the for those of you that don't know, the connotation for that is in a lot of, I don't want to say poorer communities, but in a lot of African American, Hispanic like communities, if someone is murdered, if someone dies and it has been either unresolved, it doesn't have and there's a lot of pain, whatever, behind it beyond obviously the family grieving. If it touches the community, you will see communities getting white T-shirts with that person's face printed on, with like a picture of that person printed on it, saying like, justice for this person, or find the killer, or like whatever it may be, like some sort of phrase to go with it that's like, hey, we need to resolve this. And so the fact that like that's her concern, is that this won't be resolved, is terrifying.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that at all. Wow, that's I hadn't seen anything from his mom or his family. That's new to me. Wow, that's sad. That you had to think about that as a parent, that your son as being murdered. Did you see what the wife of the officer did?
She filed for divorce.
Yep.
So there's
along with being.
So there's multiple trains of thought in this. The positive mindset in me says, she's like, okay, fuck this guy, I'm done, I'm leaving, right? And like, I'm going away. Like, I'm just being totally done with the situation. She can't condone what he's done. I don't know that she knows his history. I don't know that his history has been reported, like whatever it may be. And so I am assuming positive intent in this one, in that she stepped up as a human and said, no, this is unacceptable. And she's like, I'm leaving him. However, I have seen several instances of potential legal positioning in this, in that if he hopefully when he goes to trial and is ultimately convicted, legal costs, like any of those types of things, any sort of like reparations, any sort of civil suit that may come as a result of all of this, would be tied directly to his family and to him and his wife and all of their assets, unless they're divorced, and in that divorce she is granted the house, their properties, their whatever else, because if legally he has no ownership rights in those things, then they're not able to go after the wife and go after the rest of the family to basically repay back some of those things, like any potential civil losses or anything that goes in part of that.
Holy shit, I hadn't thought about that. That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, so
wow.
That's why I said the person, the side of me that wants to assume positive intent says that she's like, no, fuck this guy, I'm done. But there's that little voice, I said it last week, I'm kind of a pessimist at times. There's that little voice in the back of my head that's like, this could be some legal jockeying and positioning.
What the fuck? All right, well, that's something to keep an eye out on. Well, damn, what the fuck?
Yeah, so it's
crazy.
There's some funny kind of stories behind all of this, because my wife She used to give me shit just a few years ago that I was the farthest removed, like the farthest person on the planet removed from anything political, from news, from anything really happening on like a grander scheme other than what directly impacts my life. Like, I just didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch the news. I didn't follow like presidential debates. I didn't follow elections. I didn't do any of that. And she gave me shit about it. And now I'm like glued to it. I am glued to everything that is happening from a national scale, from, on the politics side, on, the news side, the stories like this, to where I am like constantly glued to it and like talking to her about it. And she's like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, you're talking about it too much now.
That's funny.
I've done a complete flip on it. And so, like, all of these things that you're bringing up, I'm like, yep, I saw that. And here's the other parts of that, too, because it's like I've literally been glued to all of this shit every single time I get the opportunity to see them. It's been crazy.
So, this murder, because I think that's what he's been charged with now, is murder and manslaughter. In my head, it's, as you said, pessimism. That murder charge is not going to go, and they're just going to get him on manslaughter. I feel it in my heart that that's what's going to happen to the dude. Go ahead.
I'm constantly interrupting you. It's questionable because he was charged with murder 3. The difference on what I've seen from a lot of people on the difference on like, oh my God, he should have been charged with a more severe, like murder 3 is only a max of like 25 years, yada, yada, yada. You have to remember that they will only charge on what they think they can prove and get a conviction on. They're not going to overcharge someone because on what the crime is, because if they overcharge and they can't prove it, he walks. Like, and that's it. And so, something like murder 1, and actually both murder 1 and murder 2, which carry significantly longer sentences, the reason they carry longer sentences is that they both require that the prosecution prove that the person that committed the murder had intent and like planned it.
And they can't. There's no way you can prove that. Not in this case. I would have a hard time if I were on the jury. You'd have a hard time convincing me that he had the intent of murdering that man that day
before the series of events happened. Yeah, like before all of these things happened, he was like in his head, "I'm going to kill this person." He didn't have that, or like I'm going to kill someone today. He didn't. I'm going to assume he didn't have that thought at the start of his day. But in that moment, it's not something that is, negligent enough to just be manslaughter. Like, oh, it was an accident. Like, no, this was an intentional act, which then is murder 3.
Okay, well, that killed my theory. Anyways, this giant thing led to demonstrations happening across the country. Minnesota, I saw Atlanta, because there's a few states now that have curfews in effect, including us. Ours went into effect a few hours ago, or just the order came down. It doesn't go into effect until 8 p.m. Prior to that, we had demonstrations. I guess I'll kind of take the lead on this part because it affected me a lot more since my job is downtown.
Yeah, this is what I've been actually wanting to hear. Like, I wanted to kind of spend most of our time where you're telling us about the events of last night. I got a few text messages and everything from you, but like, I want to hear about this.
So Thursday night, my front desk person sent me a video of people protesting on Van Buren. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, well, just stay inside, man. We didn't know anything about it, and it seemed pretty peaceful, and it made sense, right? Because everyone was doing it. Friday night, I get a text from the same guy who's working his same shift, and he says, "Hey, man, it's getting a lot more busy down here. What do I do?" I'm like, in the event that you feel like you're in danger, you can leave the front desk, go up to another floor, like the main floor, which is the 8th floor, and just hang out there, man. You can see from the top what's going on downstairs. Like, just, take the cell phone with you and just go. Everything else in the lobby can be replaced. We don't care. So he did, and then the shift change happened, and that's when stuff was going more off, because that was 11ish, and it must have been pretty calm because the concierge was still able to make it to the building. So they both kind of stayed on, and the guy couldn't leave anymore because the crowds wouldn't let him, and about 12:30ish, I get text messages of broken windows on the building I manage. I saw them like, okay, they look still intact. Like, are they okay? It's like, yeah, from where we can see, there's double pane windows, and they only broke the first pane. And then they sent me more pictures, like 10 minutes later, of another window. And I was like, okay, that one looks like it has a gaping hole in it. I'm going down there. I texted my maintenance staff, and both my maintenance guys wanted to go down there. I was like, okay. And then I texted the manager of the leasing office, because she should know, because they were her windows. And she's like, okay, she was also going to go down there.
Gotcha.
I live the closest, so I got there first. As I was like, hey, the exits for 7th Ave and 7th Street are closed right now. You're going to have to either get off earlier or go to 16th Street, which is what I did. Tried to make my way downtown, and on the corner of Roosevelt and 7th Street, the police had blocked off that stuff. There's a Circle K in that area. I pulled off there, and I was like, I wanted to talk to a police officer to see if I could get access. And even as I was walking to them, you can tell they were uneasy, that they kind of looked like they wanted to reach for their belt.
You're not exactly a small guy, so in the middle of all of that craziness, you got a 6'4", large Mexican coming at them. Granted, well dressed, because I'm going to give you that benefit.
No, I was not well dressed.
Okay, no,
but I was approaching two female officers. But I had like a T-shirt with my company logo on it. And then I had business cards in my pocket. Should they require it, right?
God forbid you reach for your pocket.
Oh, I didn't think of that. But after I explained what I was like, hey, I have staff down there. They told me the building is damaged. I need to get down there. It's like, you're not going down there tonight. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, no, they're pushing everybody out. You cannot go down there. It's like, even have to go do this, and that. It's like, you're not going down there. You need to turn around and go. And it's like, fuck, do we have any ETA on how long this is going to last? Like, they didn't want to give me a time. So I got on the phone and called everybody else, like, hey, they're not going to let us downtown. You guys might as well go back home. The manager on the other leasing office side said she made it to 7th Ave in Van Buren, and there's like a Church's Chicken there that she pulled off, and that's as close as she could get.
Damn.
So we could not get downtown, so I went home, and I told them, hey, they won't let me downstairs. Just stay on the 8th floor. Periodically go down together and check how things are going. And then they would FaceTime me later on, and I'd see the riot police going through the street, and they grabbed one of the garbage cans out front that we have for people who take their dogs out. So it was full of dog shit that was set on fire.
Goddamn.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. Next morning, 5 a.m., I head over there because I figured at that point we're good. Meet the engineer out there. He already started removing that extra glass, picking everything up. Call a company to come board up the windows. And later on, we discovered there's a fourth window that we couldn't see from the outside because it has a screen on it that was hit with pellets, I guess, from the fire department, pepper shot. I don't know what it's called. Okay. And that broke that window. Because we didn't know what to expect other than an officer came to talk to us and say, hey, we expect bigger crowds tonight. We were able to send an email to the whole community that you kind of helped me proofread and stuff on hey, should we get bigger crowds and the security of the building be compromised? We're going to lock everything down. No one's going to be going anywhere. The elevators will be locked. And we'll send a mass text to everybody notifying you this is what happened. stay inside your homes until everything has died down, because we truly can't predict how a crowd that large will react.
Yeah.
I headed down there in the evening. Protesters had started at 6-ish, and that was peaceful for the most part. It wasn't. Oh God! It must have been around 8:30 when they started getting near us, and you hear them behind us and walking by and everything, and we were outside, and then for some reason, on Van Buren, they began running towards the building. It's like, and we didn't know why. So we were on the corner, we saw that, and we just took off running into the building. It's like, hey, they are coming. We need to go, is what my engineer said. So we ran into the building, grabbed our shit quickly, and just left. So we went up to the 8th floor. We can't explain what caused people to start running. When we stayed up there, I think they kind of connected back to the main crowd and started going down Central Avenue.
Damn.
And started turning again, going eastward back to the police station. I was like, cool. As long as they're away from us, I don't care. Let them do that. Luckily, we had a local news station following them, so we were able to follow the crowd live. And then you see the tear gas going off. And because at some point they called it unlawful assembly, so they had to disperse. Here's how close the tear gas and stuff going off down at the police station is to my building. We could smell the smoke of it. It smelled like burning up. We smelled the burning outside because residents on the 30th floor were texting me saying, "Hey, it smells like burning up here." And we walked around the building, make sure nothing was on fire. It's like, no, those are the flashbangs going off.
Damn.
I think at that point the crowd slowly started dispersing. They split up into two and then started down Van Buren again. They did. We have footage of them shooting up flares into the sky as they were coming down back our way. I think 3rd Avenue in Van Buren, we have footage of that. And it's like, okay, we need to go back inside. And at that point, they marched down 1st Avenue, and I have footage of that on my Instagram. We went back up to the 8th floor because that close to the building, it's like they're right on the corner. So should they do something stupid, we would have no time to get upstairs. And we kind of hung up on the 8th floor looking down and seeing the crowds. Motorcycle gang had joined the group. The crowds kept going. Every once in a while we'd see caravans of police SUVs driving by trying to close off areas, but unsuccessfully, because we'd see them and then we wouldn't see them for a while, and then here comes the crowds. I'm like, I don't know if the police were just kind of making it up as they went along, or if their sole priority was to protect the police station and the courthouse and city hall, because that's where they were kind of at. That's where the helicopter was hanging out at. That's where the blockade was at. They put metal barriers and then those giant concrete cones things that looked like they weigh about 2,000 pounds off, and we'd see it. You go out up and you see them from far away. Oh man, it was a long evening because we were kind of on edge. There was a lot of time where it was calm and we were just happy that it was calm. But we knew that, hey, this whole thing, we got the pictures of the windows being broken around 12:30. So
yeah, it
was still 11. We couldn't leave. We couldn't think it was over because it was repeating the way it was the night before. The same events were happening. Last night.
Yeah, and it's that whole fucking calm before the storm mindset of okay, everything's calm, everything's peaceful, and then bam, shit hits the fan.
Mm-hmm. Luckily, the next staff person came in because I had just started someone. Their first day was tomorrow, and I didn't want their experience to be tarnished. Hey, my first day at work, and there's a fucking riot, so I sent them home early. And the next person, the overnight person, came in, and luckily he didn't have much of an issue. I told him, avoid coming from the west side because you're not going to get through. You made it on time. We were all, all there together. We kept watching the news. Saw what the hell was going on in Scottsdale, which is like, holy shit, you understand why it's on the news because they're looting. I was like, no, take me back to the cameras downtown. I want to see what's going on near me. You're my only advantage right now. But like I said, people on the upper floors were kind of giving me like play-by-play of where they're at, and as much as they could see, right? Which was nice of those residents. And then around 1-ish, I think the police had enough, based off what I've seen on the news, where they were all in riot gear. You hear the flashbangs going off all over downtown. Crowds are starting to slowly disperse. The crowd didn't know what to do because on one block south of us on Adams Street, they were just going back and forth, blocking intersections. Cars were like honking because they couldn't get through. The police had blocked off Washington, so they couldn't go south, and they were just going east to west, back and forth, just chanting and chanting and chanting. Little later, they walked in front of the building. As soon as we saw that, we hightailed it again off the first floor. Residents were in the fucking lobby for some dumbass reason. We told them, hey, they are coming, they are running. You see the first people starting to run. It's like, you guys need to go upstairs.
Oh God!
And they wanted to record on their cell phone what was going on. Fine,
Gotta get the Instagram.
if something happens. Yep, if something happens to them, that's on them. We warned the building. Hey, oh, that's the thing, man. A lot of the people, because I was there all morning yesterday trying to get someone to board up the windows. I was like, what happened last night? I didn't hear anything. What's going on? Like, first of all, there was a protest Thursday night right behind the building. You see the giant crowds walking by, and then there was flashbangs and rioting, or not rioting, but like there was like vandalism for sure. The bank across the street, their door was completely destroyed. Their window was completely gone. They had it way worse than we did, and these people had no idea.
I want their either sound systems, their headphones, like something, whatever they got that drowned all that out. I want it.
I honestly, dude, I think it's just the ignorance of them.
Yeah, possibly.
It's like, wait, there's protests? Why are they protesting? That's the questions I had answered yesterday morning. And people are like coming out, it's like, oh, we got it pretty good. There's nothing going on. And then they turn as they're leaving the lobby, they turn to the right and see the 3 broken windows. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, holy! Before I forget, there was in one of those times where like the calm before the storm, these 3 probably early 20s kids were like, why aren't they breaking things? They should break. And then they see our windows boarded up, like, yeah, let's do that. And I'm like, you fucking morons! What does breaking my windows have to do with your protests? Those are the anarchists right there.
Yeah.
That just want destruction for the sense of destruction.
Damn.
I want to touch on, based on this, I'm not sure if you saw these pictures, but a little early in the day on Reddit, a video caught my attention where these guys were like, hey, look what just showed up downtown, and it was a pallet of bricks.
Really?
And it's like, there's no construction site near here is what those people are saying. There's nothing going on. You see them panning the camera around. It's like, this just showed up. And then slowly, more and more on Reddit, people started posting these random pallets of bricks showing up around. It's like, I can't say who did it. To me, it's like maybe a group of anarchists decided, hey, let's help them get started.
Was that today or yesterday?
It was yesterday throughout the area, and there was one in Phoenix too.
Gotcha.
For the most part, dude, I can honestly say from what I saw, the protest was peaceful up to a certain point until like the people without the air horns, or what do they call them? Blow horns? Air horns? The loudspeakers?
Okay, yeah, like megaphone or whatever.
Megaphones, thank you. When you saw those people being gone, the group continued is when they started getting, without a leader, the crowd just like, what do we do? They just kept marching up and down. I think they made it all the way to Chase Field at some point. And they slowly started breaking shit. They slowly started tagging stuff. And that's where you saw the people who were just up there for no good doing their thing. At one point, the building across the street, the bank, where they had boarded up their windows, suddenly it said, fuck the police. And I was like, bro, I was outside like 10 minutes ago. That wasn't there 10 minutes ago. Who the hell did that?
Damn.
And then you see a bunch of white kids posing in front of that. It's like as if they did it. Like, throughout the night. Throughout the night, they just decided, it's like, hey, that looks cool. Let's pose and say, like, ha, 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 we did it. So we had those morons out there, too. Again, as the night was clearing up around 1 a.m.-ish, we see the riot police come in front of the building, and they're shooting their pepper shot. And as I was up on the 8th floor again, I see this one officer just shooting at a car nonstop. I'm like, why does he keep shooting at this stupid car? And I was like, oh, because there's a bunch of people in them, and they haven't left. But from my angle, I can see the car can't leave because the police are blocking the road up the way. So the car literally can't go anywhere. Yet this officer in full riot gear is shooting it nonstop. And then there was another car that they kept shooting and shooting, like so much so that this black car just had a giant white spot on the driver's side door. And we could see that from 8 stories up.
Damn.
And it's like you can just hear the every time that dude fired. I saw a person get hit by it. A young, small female girl. Because I think he either shot her in the hand or somewhere near it because it caused her to drop something. And then she just was yelling, now I'm bleeding. Like, fuck you. Fuck you. And then when we lost sight of her, I think she was arrested because we can hear her screaming.
Oh, shit.
So that was a thing. But yeah, they were shooting at people and telling them to go home. After the crowd seemed to have died down, I went back downstairs and found a bunch of residents out on front of the building just like watching what was going on. Some were picking up the casings of the pepper shot. The bars around me, the managers were out front, and they were trying to get the police attention. It's like, hey, we have bars full of patrons. What do we do? How do we tell them to go? And the officers had no answers for them. It wasn't as crazy as the first night because luckily we got off with no damage to the building, which is all I really wanted. But man, it was a busy, long ass night.
Damn,
having to be there to make sure we could properly address what would happen should these people smash everything.
God damn. That is a crazy series of events, dude. Like, and I wanted to give you that time to like just talk about all of it because holy shit, like that is just unreal, the events that are going on. And in all honesty, as horrible as it sounds, like we may have more things happening tonight. Like,
oh yeah, there was another protest scheduled to start at 6. As we said, the governor's office started a curfew announced a curfew that starts at 8. So I'm hoping nothing happens. I'm actually going to go down there again shortly, just to make sure my staff is safe. And if they want to go home, I'll send them home. So man, it's a shitty weekend for me. I was like, hey, this week was tough at work, but at least I have the weekend.
Nah, you don't have that.
No, I was not able to sleep from that moment I got the phone call at midnight on Friday or Saturday, like at all, because after trying to rush down there, my adrenaline was going. Then I couldn't sleep. Like I had like 2-3 hours of sleep before I went back to the building. When I got back home to prepare for being there last night, I really couldn't sleep. So it's like I was exhausted today. Like we were discussing, hey, do we really want to record an episode today? And I dozed off after answering your text because I was just exhausted.
Damn.
So I'm hoping that this curfew that goes into effect means that it's going to be a really, really slow night, that nothing happens. Although my little brother just sent me a picture of on Snapchat that someone said, this high-rise is next with my building in the background. And that's happening right now. My brother sent me this picture 5 minutes ago.
Wait, say it again?
I'm going to text it to you right now.
Okay. I totally zoned out. I was like, wait, what?
My brother just sent me, because, you don't have Snapchat. On Snapchat, you go to the map and you're able to zoom in on areas where some Snapchats are going popular.
Yeah.
And you click on Phoenix, and there's a picture that says "High Rise Next," and it has my building in the background.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means. Whether it's a person saying, "Hey, I'm moving to this high rise next," or if they're planning to do something. I really hope so. I'm going down there alone. I'm not. I with the staff that's there. My engineer, who is a former Marine and former private military, will not be accompanying me because he had a bitch of a night trying to get home. The way he took, they were stopping vehicles and having them pop the trunks. I'm not sure why. But Ramon, you know what he had in his trunk. He was prepared for any emergency last night, so I'll just say that.
Yeah. Damn.
So it took him about an hour to get out of downtown and get home. To me, I'm lucky. I left 10 minutes after him. I had no issues. I couldn't get on the freeway, so I just took McDowell all the way home. But yeah, he doesn't seem to. Gotcha. He doesn't want to come down anymore.
Gotcha. Well, just be safe, man. We're gonna wrap up here soon, so that way you can take off. But just be safe, and yeah, guys. Anyone that's out there, please continue to be safe. Continue to take care of the people that are around you, and really just show the people that are around you some compassion, show some love, because at this point now in the world, like we just need to heal more than anything. Like things need to change, and we need to heal. And so, yeah, I'm gonna end on that note. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I want to say, we're all we got. We see this people see this giant force that's against us. I know. I think not all cops are bad, but there are definitely some bad people in there. Please, as this activist said in Atlanta, is don't burn your house down, don't burn your community down. Many people have worked hard to build up our community, whether it's a small business or anything of that nature. The real change isn't in rioting and destroying things. The real change is in putting the right people in power that you think can make a change, and trying to change the system so that situations like what happened to George Floyd don't keep happening.
Yeah.
But take care of each other. Like as Ramon said earlier, check in on people, make sure we're all okay, and hopefully we get back to a better world soon.
Yep. So that is going to be episode 11 of the Nobody Important podcast. Please give us a follow on Instagram at Nobody Important Podcast. Also, we are available on all the major podcast platforms, so you can stay up to date with any new episodes that we release. We're on Anchor, Pocket Cast, Spotify, YouTube, and primarily Apple Podcasts. So please give us some follows. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. This has been episode 11.
Peace.